Hey there, my friends, it's Dave Wood. I'm talking to you from my home in Costa Rica. I've got my Christmas tree here. Of course, I didn't set that up. My assistant did, but my kid loves it. And I'm here to talk to you today about something really specific, and that's how to come up with $10,000 in 3 days to start a business online. Now, the question that people have when they're looking to do business online, there's actually several of them, but the reality is that, let me just write that on the screen. How to come up with $10,000 in 72 hours or less, right? Now, this is going to be a little bit different, and the reason is because you might not necessarily need $10,000 to start an online business. You could start one for much less. However, the reality is that you are going to be in a point in your life at one point where you need to generate resources. And I've used this strategy that I'm going to teach you, and it literally has worked 100% of the time. It's worked to come up with $5,000, to come up with $100,000, to do events with 6,000 people, to sponsor hundreds of thousands of people. And if you apply this strategy, this is actually the strategy that I personally used to come up with resources to start Empower Network back in 2011. And it has worked when I've walked people through it 100% of the time. Now, here's the thing that I'm going to pre-frame before I really get into this content today, is that this really isn't for everybody. This show today specifically is for those of you who you're in a spot where you need to come up with resources to start a business of some kind, whether it's an internet business, whether that's business to fund yourself while you're building a business, whether that's education. My brother Will has invested $100,000 in his NLP education in order to learn strategies and skills to work with clients to transform people. And you need to invest in yourself if you really want to be able to transform your clients, if you really want to be able to create a transformational business. And in order to be able to do that, you've got to think like a rich person. So who's this for? This is really for people who have a burning desire of some kind, right? Now, a lot of people, let me tell you actually where this came from, is I'm starting a program internal in our company, and it's basically so we can have internal sales team who are closing sales and helping people move through the sales process. And one of the things that a guy I'm working with came up with is he said, you know, a bunch of the people I'm talking to, they pull their credit card out and they try to buy, and they're like, I literally don't have any money on my credit card. And so here's the thing that I want to differentiate. I'm actually going to head over here really quick, and there's a big differentiation between these two, is that some people they think about everything like an objection, okay? I've heard like there's like ABC, always be closing, and it's like you want to overcome objections. But the reality is you don't overcome objections, you help the person become bigger and the objections just disappear, okay? Because there's only really a couple of real objections, and they're not really objections, they're reasons, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, you have over here, you have what most people call objections when they're buying something, okay? Now, this principle that I'm going to teach you, you can use it to both come up with resources, and you can also use it to help people step into their power and sell more effectively. In fact, I'll talk to you about how I've generated hundreds of millions of dollars with these philosophies. And so let's talk about what people call objections. People call objections, they say, for example, I have to talk to my spouse, right? And people think about that like an objection when they're talking to prospects, if they're salespeople. They say, you know, I got to talk to my spouse. I've got to, you know, think about it, right? Or they say something along the lines of like, I don't have the money, right? So spouse, they say, I have to think about it, right? They say, I don't know, I'm not sure about it, right? And then they'll say things along the lines of like, I don't have the money, right? Now here's the reality. So we have what most people call objections, and then we have over here, which is the truth, right? And the truth is this, is that there is no objections, there's only reasons, okay? And those reasons are either true or they're not true, right? And the reality is that most people, when they're giving objections, they're actually not true, okay? Like for example, and this is the metaphor that I like to give, it's like, if you're a guy, right, and it doesn't matter, you know, you could say a girl too, but girls don't go to bars and approach men. You know what I mean? It's like, it works a little bit differently than that, right? So if like you're a dude and you walk into like a bar, if you like go and pick it up chicks in nightclubs, and you walk up to the hottest chick in the nightclub, And you're like, by the way, nightclub in America and nightclub in Costa Rica means strip club. But in the United States, it's actually what you'd call a discotheque, Jose. So I'm talking about a discotheque in Spanish, but a nightclub in English, all right? So if you go into a nightclub, right, and you walk up to a girl you think she's a 10, and you're like, you're like, hey, sweetie, you look hot, right? What's she gonna do? She just immediately puts up a wall, right? Now, she's gonna say, I'm busy, I'm talking with friends, you know, or she'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I got a phone call, and pick up her phone and pretend to have a conversation. The reality is, it's bullshit, right? She just is putting up a social wall because people are programmed to reject people leading them off course, okay? And the reason that she's really doing that is she's checking, right? Maybe she's actually just not interested, right? But maybe she's just checking, is that guy a man or not, right? And what happens is that if you look at people who end up having like beautiful women around them all the time, or look at a woman who ends up attracting a guy who's awesome, right? What happens is the guys that think it's funny and they just are not bothered at all, and then she just thinks it's bullshit and he buys her a drink and then she starts talking to him, right? Even though she says the same thing to that guy. You don't even need to be hot or anything, right? So the reality is that, and this is not women, it's not men, it's human behavior, right? That when people are about to make a decision, when people are approached with something, they produce automatic unconscious rejection of the idea to protect themselves, right? And so that rejection will then produce excuses. Most of the time, they're not true and they're not based in good thinking, okay? And so the reality is this: somebody either needs to talk to their spouse or they don't. It's not an objection, it's actually true or not true, right? I've met guys who need to talk to their spouse when they make decisions, right? And it's a family thing because they respect each other in a certain way, and they make financial decisions together because they're in a certain spot in their life and they want to decide together. And so it's disrespecting her if he does that, or if she makes a decision without him, it's disrespecting. And I've met guys who that's complete bullshit. They don't talk to their wives about anything. They go buy a $1,000 TV without talking to their wife, but they're saying that and they're doing it to see, is this person strong? Does that make sense? So they're actually testing you most of the time. So this is either true or it's not true. And the reality is most of the time it's just not true. And the reason you're getting objections is because it's a natural defense mechanism. And what you need to do is not try to overcome the objection. I'm talking about sales, I'm talking about you and me. You don't need to try to overcome that objection. What you need to do is identify that the person actually wants it, and you need to stay, more than anything, strong, right? Like, when people used to throw that stuff at me, they'd say, I don't have the money. And I'd just pause awkwardly. I'd be like, this, right? I'd be on the phone. This is when I started making like 30 grand a month back in 2011. By the way, see our income disclosure for everything I say. This isn't selling opportunity. I'm teaching you how to do things, okay? It's up to you to do these things. And you can do it in any business. But I'd just pause awkwardly and I'd say, Jim. He'd say, yeah. I'd say, Jim, how old are you? Say, I'm 40. Why? I'd say, are you telling me that you're 40 and you can't come up with $1,000, right? Now I'm talking about 10,000 here, but I'm using this as a model. You could really do this and you could come up with $1 million, $2 million, 500,000, 20,000, or you could come up with $1,000, right? I'm just giving you a number because the reality is that you do need access to resources in order to make money online, right? And so I'd be like, dude, are you telling me that? And he's like, well, I was like, Jim, let me ask you something. And here's the reality. And it could be Jim, Susan, whoever it is, right? I've done this with women, with men, and I'm just strong. And I say, look, let me ask you something. And here's the truth. I'm gonna be honest with you. I promise you I will never do anything that's not in your best interest. Will you also promise to be honest with me? And say, yeah. Now, Jim, you said that you wanted to make $10,000 a month because you want to bring your wife home from work and you want to give your kids a better education. When you told me that, were you telling me the truth? He says, yes. So why do you want to give your kids a better education? I want to give them a better education because I don't like public schools. I think he's passionate. I'm like, sounds like you're passionate about that. Yeah. So when you're passionate, are you passionate and serious, or are you messing around? Because I make a lot of money whether I talk to you or not. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because I don't need here to be here. I don't need you to be here. You need me to be here. And we can help each other win even bigger because my mission is to empower you. But in order to do that, I need to know that if I'm gonna tell you to do something, you're not gonna give me bullshit anymore. Is that okay? Be like, yeah. So Jim, are you serious about making that money? He says, yes. Then here's what we're gonna do. I just sent you a link. I want you to click on the link. He says, okay. I say, click on the link. He opens it up. I say, go ahead and fill out this form. Order the product. I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. And he would just buy it, right? So the same guy that told me he didn't have money would just buy. And it's like, He's doing that because his mind is trying to avoid getting schemed. He's trying to avoid the upline that's going to quit on him, that's going to jump from deal to deal, that's going to jump to one thing and another thing and tell each one that it's like the best thing ever, and I've planted my flag on the moon, then on that star, then on that planet. And they just change all the time, right? He's just saying that to say that. So the reality is the objection's not true. So back to, sometimes it is true. So sometimes here's what's going to happen. He'll be like, so are you serious about that? Yeah. So when you say that you don't have money, is it that you actually don't have money and you really want to do it? You really want to come up with 10 grand to come fly to Costa Rica, come hang out, to be mentored. You want to get access to education that's going to change your life just like you would for school. And this is to build a business online. Or you really want to do that, and you would do it if you have money, and you actually you don't have a credit card, you can't get a loan, you don't have access to resources? Or are you just telling me you can't do it because you really don't want to do it and you just don't want to hurt my feelings? Because you either want to do it or you don't. I just want to know, are you real? And so if you don't want to do it, dude, I'll just let you off the hook, won't pressure you, won't try to overcome it. Just let me know. Do you want to do it or do you not? I say, yeah, I want to do it. So you're saying you can't come up with it. He says, no, man, I don't have that anywhere, right? Now we've got the real person, okay? We've identified that it's real, right? So this is an objection process with yourself. Like, ask yourself, right? It's like somebody comes in, they come into my business. I mean, we have like $8,000 in products, right? And somebody comes around that business and they're like, and part of that is like coming to my house or going to my house here in Costa Rica or Puerto Rico, at Rob's house. We do millions and millions of dollars a year online in sales. And we do masterminds after an education process, right? So we have that available for people who want it, right? And sometimes people, they look at that and I'm like, look, I don't want to pressure you, but do you want this or not, right? And they're like, well, yeah, I want it, but. And I'm like, no, there's no but. Either you're bullshitting me or you want it. Because if you want it and you don't have resources, I can work with you, right? But if you are just telling me you don't have resources because you're nervous and scared, it's because you don't believe it and we need to change something, or you could just go do something else. It's fine. I'm not going to pressure you. What do you want? Right? And they're like, yeah, I really want the lifestyle. I want to live that dream, right? So then I've identified something. Somebody has to have a burning desire and be able to do this, right? So then it's true. It's like this person says, I don't have money. Well, here's the thing. Is it true? No, it's not true, because they're not thinking right. Now, here's the question I ask, and I ask this to people. I'm going to ask this to you. I've always used Donald Trump for this, which I think is funny because now he's the president. And I live in Costa Rica, not even the States. This is not a political thing, right? But this is the example I've always used, because I know he gets financing to build Trump Towers, right? And he went bankrupt and then got a bunch of money. So I've used this since 2011. I've used this example, and this is the reality, right? So this is you, right? So this is a person, and we say this isn't you, but this is a person who has a poor mind right now, right? Now that doesn't mean that the poor mind is even real. It just means that your perception of time and space and energy and resources, right? This isn't real either, right? Because the reality is this, okay? Let's say you have zero. This is your current resources. You have zero right now. Your bank account has 1 penny in it, or maybe negative 10 pennies, right? You're like zero. That's better than being bankrupt and owing $1 million to somebody, right? You're at least at zero. You're at even, you know, that's not bad, right? But the reality is you're at zero and you need $10,000 in 3 days, right? Let's say that's you, okay, here. Then this is, and you're like, oh, what are you doing? You're saying, oh, I can't. You're saying, I can't do it, right? Is that true? No, because the universe has unlimited resources. You have unlimited resources. I believe you're a creation of the Almighty, right? Which means you can create things. Whatever you believe, if you don't believe that, it doesn't matter. Look around at the resources in the world. I'm gonna tell you some crazy stories over the next couple minutes, but I gotta keep this quick because I gotta run. I'm gonna go hang out with my kids. I'm excited. So anyways, right? The reality is you can, right? So people are saying, oh, I can't because of X, Y, Z, P, Y, 1, 2, 3, right? They just make up reasons, right? Which the reasons are based in fear of them not being able to accomplish it, which fear stands for false evidence appearing real, right? Which is no different than faith. I don't have initials for that one, but I come up with some, but I need longer than talking fast in the video to do that. I need some initials for faith like that. It's the opposite. What fear is you are imagining something that hasn't happened yet that's negative. But you're just imagining it. It's like if I'm going to imagine robbers coming into my house, I have to think about ninjas coming in my house and stealing my things and attacking people. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Could that happen? Maybe it would happen. But the reality is probably it's not going to happen. The percentage of people that even get robbed is super low. I got a security guard. I got electric fence, right? I got good people around, right? So the reality is it's false evidence appearing real. You're projecting negativity into a future that doesn't exist, and therefore you are using your divine, powerful, creative ability to create something that you don't want. How useful is that? It's like, gosh, they never taught me that in school. Maybe that's because the education is public and they all want everybody to be the same, right? Now let's go back over here. Poor mind is also not true because that's not how you're built. You're built to be a creator, have dominion, right? So in anyways, you're at zero. Now, here's the thing. I've always used this example. Let's use Donald Trump, right? And let's take the drama and the street parades out of it, right? Guys, I live in Costa Rica, for heaven's sakes. I'm not even in the States. Am I American? Yes. But let's leave politics out of it. If he wanted to build a Trump Tower and it cost him, let's say it cost him $5 billion, but he knew he could make money, okay? Let's say he needs over here, he's here, and let's say Trump only has $1 billion in cash, right? Which probably is, I don't know how much cash he has or if he even has cash. I'm not his accountant, right? But let's say he has $1 billion and he needs, let's say he needs $10 billion, right? That's what he needs. And he needs to come up with that. And he knows that if he builds this, he's gonna make $1 billion a year from it, and it's gonna just compound over time, right? How long do you think it's gonna take him to go from $1 billion and get $10 billion in resources? He'll figure it out. You're like, well, he's Donald Trump. Let me ask you a question. Is it harder to come up with $9 billion, or is it harder to come up with 10,000? $9 billion is much harder, right? Much, much harder. It doesn't matter how good your credit is. It doesn't matter your background. He was doing this crap after he was bankrupt, right? So what's the difference between him? I'm not talking about personal philosophies. I'm talking about ability to generate resources. Is it like anything but, what is it? Poor mind versus rich mind, right? Now, rich mind does what? The rich mind looks at the universe and they don't say, I can't. They say, how can I? How can I do it? And they see themselves in it. So I'm gonna give you an exercise. And I promise if you do this exercise, you can come up with $10,000 by Monday, right? You're seeing this Friday, so we got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? Now here's the thing, will you do it? I don't know. Everyone who's ever done this has come up with more resources than they could imagine like that. I've had people come up with 50 grand before like that. Not to spend with me, I don't charge people 50 grand for anything. I could, right? I've done like hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, but here's the reality, this works. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get you to think like a rich person, like a rich mind, like the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, what do? Well, to think like a rich person, it's really simple. Step number one is you've got to see clearly into the future. So what does that mean? It means a poor person over here, they generate fear. A rich person over here sees clearly and they generate faith. Faith in what? Faith in an outcome that is gonna happen, period, right? They gotta see clearly in the future. I'm starting to sweat because I turned my air conditioning off. It's loud when I make the videos, right? Number two, right? Number two, they got to find a way in that faith to come up with those resources. Now, there's a way that works 100% of the time. How's that? By utilizing the inborn, the design powers that human beings have to generate resources like a quantum mechanical computer, like you're tapping into something supernatural. Now, here's how you do it, right? So see clearly, how do you do it? Well, first of all, we're gonna make an identifying statement. Now, today's challenge and today's daily shortcut, a little bit different, free flow, right? Today's challenge is this. Whoever writes the best response in the comments to this, I'm gonna give you two assignments. One is to write the statement. Number two is to actually come later and post your list of ways you're gonna accomplish it, right? And this will blow your mind, right? So here's what we're gonna do. Now, you gotta get it exact. And if you don't get this exact, you can't win. So here's what you need to do. I need this, okay? So I want you to identify. So what do? Well, you see clearly, and you do that in a couple reasons. Number one, you make it sensory descriptive, right? So again, sensory descriptive. Number two, time-based. You make it evidence-based. And there's a couple other things you can do, but I'm doing this free flow and don't have any notes, so I'm gonna tell you exactly what to write. And if you can be more detailed, the better. So here's what we wanna do. We want you to come up with $10,000 in 72 hours or less, and guess what? guess what? Those of you, whoever comes up with the most resources to start a business, I don't care if you use them or not, by Monday, right, I'm going to pull you on. I want to do an interview with you. I want to find out how you did it so we can share it with everybody, right? And that could be for advertising. It could be just to buy you time and education, right? It could be to invest in yourself for products and education, for masterminds, right? It could be to invest in your business and grow it, right? So we're going to do an interview with you. It doesn't matter if you're in Empower Network or not. We want to see what you can come up with, right? So what do? You describe yourself in the future as if it's happening, right? So this is what I tell people. I say, okay, I'm going to give you an exercise, and if you do it, I'll work with you, and if you don't, I won't. That's the rule. And if I give you this, it has worked 100% of the time. If I give it to you, will you do it? And I'm asking you, will you do it? You got to tell me in the comments, you got to do it, and I got to see that you've done it, okay? So here's what I do. I do this on the phone with people. I have had 100% of people come up with resources in 72 hours using this strategy. So if you need 10 grand, for example, to get all in our company, to get all of our education products, come to our masterminds, if you need 20 grand, 100 grand, 5 grand, you need to get a loan on a house, you can figure this out. Here's what you do. Number one, state the exact amount, right? Sensory descriptive, time-based, evidence-based, you need to be exact, right? I should put that in here, right? And it should be present tense, right? So now, in the now. So here's what you do. So 3 days would be from the time you see this Monday, we'll give you till Monday at midnight, right? So why don't we do Monday? We'll just pick a time. You can pick the time in the comments, but it needs to be exactly like this. The more descriptive, the better the chance to win. We got a special prize for those of you who write this the best, all right? Now, we do these shows 5 days a week to help you with stuff like this. This is free, right? We do cool stuff for our customers. Now, here's the thing. What you do is you say, I write this down, write it down on a computer, and you can pause the video as you do this. I, David Wood, or your name, right? I, David Wood, am sitting in front of my computer. The date is Monday. I don't know what Monday's date is, so you have to figure it out. I believe Monday is the 21st, okay? So it is Monday the 21st, the 21st of November. I'm sitting in front of my computer, and it's 7:35 p.m. Now you describe the environment. It's a little hot in my house in Costa Rica, and I'm sweating, but I feel excited, and I'm sitting in front of my computer, looking at the order button as I'm clicking it and completing my order to get all in and to buy the education that I want. And I've just purchased, uploaded my form, and I can't believe, looking back over the last 3 days, how easy it was to come up with that money. I stand up, I look out at the city lights, and I think, if every one of these people could just come up with resources like that, what would be possible in the world? I am a divine creation, and I'm powerful, and I did it. Feels great. Here's how I did it. Now, if I was on the phone, I would actually script that out and have somebody read it back exactly. We'll have a bonus for you on the next page. You can actually script that out exactly, and we'll know if you've done it because you'll read that bonus, right? But you want to be sensory-based. Use your 5 senses. Make it so you feel in it. Tell people why in that description. It could be a paragraph long, and put it in the comments and tell them why. But here's how I did it. Now, that's part one. This is part one, but time, sensory, descriptive, time-based, evidence-based, now, right? That's part one, right? Now, what's part two? Part two is you say, here's how I did it. Now, this assignment is extremely exact, and if you don't do it, no matter how much resources you come up with, I won't interview you. I want you to do it, and then it's going to be amazing how magical this will be. This is going to be fast because I got to go, okay? It's really simple. You're going to say, here's how I did it. Here's how I did it. Not here how I'm going to do it, here's how I did it. In other words, you project yourself into the future, sitting there completing the purchase, sitting there getting your loan approval, sitting there finding a way. Like you just figured out there's something in your house, you just sold it on eBay, right? Or you just bought something off Craigslist, you sold it on eBay, or did that whole Amazon eBay scheme or whatever, people. You find a way, right? It's like bam, like that. Right? And you're sitting there and it's like the cash is in my bank account and I can't believe how easy it's going to be, so easy to come up with a resource in my future. Here's how I did it, right? Now here's what you do. This is the assignment if you choose to take it. Your mission possible, as I like to say. You make a list of 1 to 100 and you must reach the magical 100 number. There's a reason for that, and the reason is because you have to complete the assignment. You must complete it. Now here's what you do. You come up with 100 things, not that you're going to do, but thinking from the future, remembering the past. Here's what I did to come up with 100 to come up with $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, 3 days. Here's what I did. Number one, right? And then you just start the list. You start the list, right? Number one, I went on Google and I said, how do I increase my credit limit by calling my bank? And I did a Google search and they gave me a script and lots of web pages. I called my bank and they just gave me the loan. It was the easiest thing ever. That could be a thing. I researched, I Googled it, right? Yeah, the second thing you could do, I sold something in my house on eBay, right? The third thing could be, right? Write anything that comes to your mind. Now here's the thing. You can write anything, but you can't do anything, right? You only want to do stuff, write anything that comes into your brain, even if you would never do it, right? But only do things that are honest, ethical, fit inside your values. And the reason is because if you just write it down, you can laugh about it, but if you don't, it'll keep popping up in your brain, right? But here's what you do. Get all the way to 100. Now, when you get to about number 70, you're gonna get blocked. There's gonna be like a block in your brain, right? And it could be 50, it could be 70, it could be 30. That's when it gets magical. You want to keep going. Here's how I did it. What else did I do to come up with 10 grand? And you read 71. I went into church, changed flat tires up for 10 people on the road and they charged some money for it. I don't know what you did, right? But the reality is you want to get all the way to get past the block, get to 100. Now here's what the magic happens, okay? Here's what I want you to do. Take a look at that list and ask your unconscious mind, say, what was it that I did, thinking from the future, looking back? What was it on this list that I did that generated money like that? Something's gonna pop out at you. You'll know, right? And if you do that thing, you'll come up with the resources, whatever your number is. I'm setting at 10,000. Who can do it in the comments, right? And doesn't matter if you use it or not, the fact is you did it. Right? You did the assignment, right? You got out into a rich mind, right? So you do it, right? Now 3 days, you go back, I don't care if you're in Empower Network or not, who you are, right? There's the thing, you get past the block and you're going to know what that thing is. How do you know? This is how the unconscious mind works. Now, I have seen people do amazing things like this, right? This is how I started Empower Network. I was like blocked, I couldn't figure out how to do it, and then I did this, and I came up with the resources, right? How did I do it? And then I came up with all this stuff came into place. But it was because I was seeking for those things in my environment. And you have the power to create, and you always can come up with resources. Don't ever do this, guys, do not disempower yourself and say, I can't, because what's this? It's not true, it is fear, false evidence, appearing real. But just because it appears real doesn't mean that it is, it means it's just stuff you think at the time, but really, what it is, it's those walls the pretty girl in the bar is putting up around herself, which is just like, I don't really want to be like rich, right? Oh, well, I could be normal like everybody else around me. You're meant to be great. So no matter what you want to do, your mission in life's your mission, right? If you don't want to be rich, that's fine. The reality is, you're watching this because you're like, I can come up with resources. Yes, you can. So are you going to do it? Okay, on the next page, I got an audio of this. I'd encourage you to listen to it again. I've got a workbook that is going to assist you in writing that statement, coming up with those things, print it, coming out with it, and here's the assignment. You must come up with the 100 things. You must finish it. You must finish it tonight. From whenever you see this video, you have to finish it tonight, okay? You've only got 3 days to do it. And you treat those 3 days like there's no other time that exists. I'm doing it now. Here's how I did it. I thought I couldn't do it. And then I went out and I just said, I'm gonna do it no matter what. And I went to this bank and that bank. I sold a car I don't use. You find a way and it's like, bam, you're like, I do have the resources. Now here's what you know. There's no difference between this and coming up with this. All the difference is exists in the mind because the universe has unlimited resources. So will you do it? 3 bonuses on the next page. You got an audio, you got a workbook, and then if you really want to get a system to take your life to the next level, we help you make money with the Total Shortcut system, and you can actually leverage this whole model that we have and we help you use this process, and we help you develop the rich mind and develop a business on top of it. So right now, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the contest? We'll send you a free book, and I just wanna tell you, I appreciate you, you know what I mean? And with all the drama and stuff like that and the politics, it doesn't matter. The question is who are you? And what do you wanna create in your life? I appreciate you. Right now, be thoughtful, grab the bonus, then write a detailed in the comments, and then later when you get your list, it doesn't matter what's on it. We know you're not gonna do the crazy things on there, right? What you wanna do is you wanna write down everything and just post it in the comments, and if you wanna cross something out, just like asterisk that one out and just say, I can't put that public, I would never do it, right? I'm not telling you what it is. That's fine too, okay? But write it there, put it there in the comments. whoever does the best job, we're gonna send you a free book for that, and I'm gonna interview the person that comes up with the most recent, who has the most amazing story, coming back on Monday. But you gotta let us know, you gotta come back, let us know, and I wanna know who has an amazing breakthrough story from this. Now here's what's happened. There's a guy, hit my brother up on Facebook, right, and he wanted $100 to start a watermelon field. This is a true story, we teach it in our next little mastermind, right? My brother gave him this exercise. Now this is a guy in Kenya, and he wasn't trying to scam people, pulling one of those things. It's like your ex-relative died in Kenya, and I'm gonna send you 10 million, but first send me 10,000. He wasn't doing that. He was asking for $100. My brother's like, why do you want it? He said, I want a watermelon field because I'll make more money than I've ever made in my life. My brother was like, from a watermelon field, you want 100? He's like, why don't you save the money? And the guy's like, I wouldn't make $100 in my whole life. And my brother said, I'll give you an exercise, but you gotta promise to do it. And the guy says, okay. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I just want to change my life. My brother gave him this exercise, this one, okay? And the guy said, okay, my brother said, will you do it? And he says, yeah. He went and did it. 2 years later, it's my brother, Rob. He says, I just want to thank you, my mentor, because now I'm worth, it's like $6 million. That's what my brother said. I'm worth $6 million. I'm starting my own interstate highway company and building roads, and I own a trunking company all across Kenya. And it's all because of you. Brother's like, because of me? He's like, talk to you one time. He's like, yeah. But every time I got blocked, this is all I did. This is all I did. And I came up with a way. Every time. Because of you. This isn't a joke. You can't think broke anymore. You can't think like this anymore. You can find a way. But you got to generate that creative power. Right now is your time. So write that down. Write your clear, descriptive reason. There's going to be a script and a workbook on the next page. And I will see you on Monday.